I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Thursday, February the 14th, Valentine's Day. If you hadn't sent your honey something, you better get with it pretty quick or you're going to be in trouble. But we had a weather break on Wednesday, especially up in the Midwest in the center part of cattle country, just in between miserable storms, just a little break in the weather. And talked to some guys up there in the heart of the Midwest. They saw the sunshine for the first time in quite a while, but bracing for another storm going to come here at the weekend, and just can't seem to get through this winter. And boy, it'll be nice when spring gets here. But down here in the Texas Panhandle, dry as a bone still. But only thing spring, or the arrival of spring, means is 40 to 50 mile an hour winds about every day. But just terrible dry in the Texas Panhandle and Oklahoma Panhandle, which I was up at Texoma, Oklahoma today, and I will talk more about that a lot here in the middle part of the report. But just terrible dry in the Texas and Oklahoma Panhandle. But you don't have to go very far to the north into southwest Kansas or over into the meat of Oklahoma, and you find a lot of wet country and guys and going to be in good shape this spring. They've been boggy and wet and kind of tough times all winter, but it's going to be good grazing this spring. But let's look at the board for Wednesday. February live cattle futures down 87 cents to end the day at 125.95. And finally, the threat of delivery has brought that board back down to about where cash should be, and so we should be leveled up pretty good for the rest of the week. April down 90 at 126.97. Your out fronts were not down as hard as your nearbys were. March feeder cattle down 87 cents, just like the nearby fat contract, but down 87 on March feeders at 143.52. April down 57 at 146.07. Fat cattle trades, of course, for the middle of the week, we're getting closer, but we haven't seen anything yet. It seemed like Iowa, Nebraska, places like that, maybe over into northern Missouri on a few farmer feeder deals, selling mostly at $200 dressed, which is a good market, and guys are happy to get that. But that's what we had last week. You got to keep trying to gain all the time, and being happy with $2 a pound dressed is not advancing your market position at all. But through mandatory price reporting in the afternoon report there, 2,600 had sold in Iowa from $199 to $200 dressed, and a few live sales, 123 to 124, and I would assume those cattle are carrying quite a bit of mud. But box beef cutout values lower, middle of the week. Choice cuts 216.44, down 72 cents, and selects 212.01, down 99. But got to go to a sale barn on Wednesday, and always look forward to that, especially to an old friend. Clay Myers is the owner and operator at Texoma, Oklahoma. The Texoma livestock auction there. Sale's been there forever. I haven't been there on sale day since I was a little kid. It was one of the 5 sales a week that my dad traded in, and in the summertime I'd get to go to Texoma. Hadn't changed a whole lot really, but it's always been a good facility, and they had a whale of a string of cattle come through there, and Clay told me about them earlier in the week, and I mentioned them, and I went up to watch them sell. But you go up into that Oklahoma Panhandle, if you guys know the history on that, when they were creating the territories before these southwest states became states, they had that little strip right in there, and nobody wanted it. Texas, New Mexico, Kansas, Oklahoma, Colorado, nobody wanted it, and there was no law in there. They kind of called it no man's land or robber's roost. It was a place where the outlaw bunch kind of went to hide from the law because they knew they wouldn't chase them into the hills there in that Oklahoma Panhandle area, which really didn't have a name at that point. But all those wild people settled in there, and that's where all these people that are still in that country are descendants of them. So, but it's an interesting part of the country. It's pretty desolate. It's pretty lonely. Not a whole lot going on there, I guarantee you. Texoma sale on Wednesday has been the biggest thing going on in Texoma every Wednesday for probably the last 20 or 30 years at least. But I tell you, Tom Stevens, big rancher in that part of the country, brought a string of cattle to town on Wednesday. Black and red Angus. I told you earlier, the best way to describe the cattle is they were the nuts. They everything right about them. The cattle weren't too fleshy. He brought them in with a fair weigh up. They were black or red Angus, or a mixture of the two. And I mean a long string of them. Over 900 head of cattle he brought in. Same owner, same consignment. You just don't hear those deals anymore. If you do hear of a deal like that, a lot of times they just sell in the country and don't get much advertisement on them. But the man trusted Clay Myers with that many cattle to come in there and get the market on them, and they did a good job sorting them up. Wasn't a whole lot of sorting on them. There were 674 steers in the consignment, and the biggest bunch of them in the 6 weights, there was 517 of them, and they sold you know, in big strings right there together. But really a nice set of cattle. You can see them here on the video that I took, and just look at the kind of way they do things. You know, it just kind of made me feel at ease when I went into that sale barn, and you could smell greasy cheeseburgers, a little bit of dust and manure, cigarette smoke. You know, walk in, Charlie Sellers is sitting in the seats. That's just kind of what normal is to me when you're in a sale barn in my home country. And you look at Clay there. He sells his own sale, very accomplished auctioneer. That's kind of the way it's supposed to look when you're in a deal in this part of the country. Got a good looking clerk sitting right beside him recording all the data. That's a must whenever you're running a sale barn, as far as I'm concerned. And this is kind of what it's supposed to sound like. But selling that bunch of cattle right there, he was selling one of the drags of cattle there, but the biggest bulk of them steers was all in the 6 weights. Ended up 517 head of steers, averaged 668 pounds, with a weighted average price of $156.37 in no man's land, Oklahoma Panhandle. But look at your other market. Your real-time index on Cattle Market Central late in the day on Wednesday settled in at 140.198. That was down just 18 cents from Tuesday's close. You're looking how close is that RTI running to the CME cash index. The latest available was 141.79. I tell you what, really tight when the markets aren't real volatile. They get in there really tight. OKC West on Wednesday, 7,800 head when you include the 2,000 calves that they had on Tuesday. Kind of a lighter run, but it's just been wet, muddy, rainy, dreary kind of weather in the central part of Oklahoma. You know, we'd sure like to have some of that further west, but can't seem to get any moisture at all. It just all goes around, but it has been very wet and dreary and kind of hard to get around in the bulk of Oklahoma. But you look at your report there from OKC West. Feeder steers were steady to $2 higher, and feeder heifers the like too. But most of the gain seen on the steers. Calves on Tuesday, if you remember, $3 to $6 higher. Winter livestock in Dodge City, Kansas, 2,900 head there up in Dodge City. Feeder steers steady to $4 lower, but you don't want to take a lot of stock in that. They had a whale of a sale a week ago, and the feeder steers were a lot higher than other sales around, and it was kind of an eye-opener there, but they just kind of adjusted back. But steady to $4 lower kind of gets them back in line, because they were like $7 or $8 higher a week ago. Feeder heifers steady to $3 higher this week than last week, because they weren't a ball of fire last week, and spots as much as $6 higher. The calves on offer sold steady to $5 higher. Look at Torrington, Wyoming. Torrington Livestock Markets had a good sale on Wednesday. 3,900 head there. They called a lot of the steers $6 to $10 higher. And I tell you what, I don't know if it was a little break in the weather there and guys just got to feeling good and their bidding hand kind of went crazy. But I was up in that country last week and it was bitter cold. but a lot of the people around Scottsbluff, Nebraska, talking about the Torrington market last week. But heifers in Torrington this Wednesday steady to $4 higher. Look at an individual quote out of Torrington, pretty smoky. 116 head of 654-pound steers in Torrington bring $178.50. Wow. You think about ordering some calves to get them in to get ready to graze. How about North Arkansas Livestock in Green Forest, Arkansas? 85 head of mixed steers, 529 pounds at $171. And then my old stomping grounds had the best quote I found for the day. St. Joe Stockyard, St. Joe, Missouri, the last remaining river market terminal yard that's still operating, I might say. I'm kind of proud of that too. But 75 head Yahtzee cattle out of Hiawatha, Kansas. 75 steers weighed 725 at $157. And that's your feeder flash for Thursday.